Carmelo Anthony is one of the most electrifying scorers the world has ever seen. He managed to become top 10 on the all-time scoring list with one single move. Opponents knew what was coming. Melo still managed to shred opponents, being cemented as one of the toughest players to guard of all time. In the history of the NBA, there has been no shortage of iconic signature moves. The legendary players all have one. Magic Johnson with the no-look pass, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the skyhook, the great Michael Jordan with his fadeaway. But how can a player take the NBA by storm with only a single move? There has never been a player like Carmelo to crush his opponents with only one move that's so simple it became deadly. Today, we'll be taking a dive into the exciting career of Carmelo Anthony and reliving some of his greatest scoring performances, figuring out how an NBA star with only one move destroyed everyone. Carmelo's start to life was tough, as his mother died when he was only 2 years old. When he was 9, his family moved to Baltimore. During Carmelo's childhood, the streets of Baltimore were filled with drugs and crime. Carmelo lived on a rough street known as Murder Ave. One of the greatest scorers ever even almost got tempted to leave his basketball career and join the streets of Baltimore permanently. When Carmelo started his early years playing basketball as a skinny point guard, he was forced to improve in key areas of his game like his ball handling and passing. Carmelo's high school career didn't start off too great. Carmelo had to take 2 buses and a train just to get to school. In Melo's freshman year, he was cut from varsity, causing him to play JV. Carmelo was frustrated and he quit. Melo eventually got kicked out of Townsend Catholic in his junior year due to profiling. Soon, Carmelo would transfer to the prestigious Oak Hill Academy, where had greats such as Kevin Durant and Rajon Rondo play there. This would be a starting point to his greatness. Melo immediately started dominating, and his game was a bit scattered as he was coming into his own. Oak Hill Academy soon became the most watched high school basketball team. Carmelo drew eyes from recruits. Then a big clash came when Oak Hill faced St. Vincent St. Mary, which had the #1 prospect in LeBron James. The mouthwatering clash drew 11,000 spectators. Despite LeBron seeming to be the next big thing in the country, Carmelo outshined him with 34 points and 11 rebounds, compared to LeBron's 36 points and 8 rebounds. Carmelo's brilliance earned his team a statement victory. Soon, every major college in the country wanted Melo, and he eventually joined Syracuse because of his ties with the coach at the time, Jim Boeheim. With his talents and skill set, Carmelo went on to have one of the best seasons ever in NCAA history, as he averaged 22 points and 10 rebounds per game. The world saw Carmelo's game on full display. Melo kept it simple in the Boeheim offense, and this is where Melo started to figure it out and understand the endless options he could get off a single move. In the semifinal game against the University of Texas during March Madness, Melo had one of his best games of his career with 33 points, breaking the record for points as a freshman in the NCAA. The final would end in nothing but victory for Carmelo. He ended his college career in storybook-like manner. Initially, Carmelo had aimed to stay in the NCAA for a couple of years, but he had proven he was ready for the big leagues, and his coach, Jim Boeheim, deeply advised him that it was time to take his talents to where they belong. Carmelo was selected as the 3rd pick by the Denver Nuggets in the 2003 draft. And just his first year in the league, he wowed the league with the depth of his offensive arsenal. He was unlike anything defenders had seen. When against bigger defenders, Carmelo would jab step, leaving them leaning one way, and a pump fake, having them jumping in the air. Then he would use his explosiveness with his ball handling skills to drive past them and get to the paint. When against small defenders, he would simply jab at them and bully them with ease, or simply set up a mid-range, taking advantage of his 6'8" frame. His first NBA season with the Nuggets as a rookie saw him earn 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. This led to him becoming one of only 4 players at the time to earn 6 Rookie of the Month awards in a single season. But it was quite unfortunate that one of the other 3 players happened to be sharing that season with him was LeBron James. LeBron went on to win the Rookie of the Year. Carmelo's first year brought significant improvement to the Denver Nuggets. The season before, the Nuggets had won only 17 games, but with Carmelo, they won 23 more games, while also making the playoffs for the first time in 9 years. However, their playoff journey would be short-lived as they would come up against the MVP, Kevin Garnett, and his Timberwolves. Melo brought them farther than they were used to. In fact, this impressive rookie season saw him get called up to represent Team USA in the 2004 Olympics. His sophomore season started rough as he clashed with his coach, George Karl, and soon Karl got fired and replaced. Suddenly, life under new management brought out the best of Carmelo's offensive game. He started to utilize the mid-post area more. He started to look more polished. Just like Kobe and MJ, Melo started to build his own go-to move to open his whole game up. Melo also began to grow reputation for clutch game winners with mid-range jump shots. The following season only saw Carmelo hone his craft even more. He no longer wasted his energy doing plenty of moves and understood his spots on the court, how to truly become a great scorer. Melo started to figure out and understood he only needed one move to unlock everything. In the 2005-2006 season, his points per game average rose to a whopping 26.5 points, but the playoffs brought nothing rewarding. The French started to read Melo's game more and more. They knew what was coming, but Melo would start to isolate himself mostly off the right side, which is his favorite place to face up. Look his opponents in the eye, and instead of a smooth, buttery game like Paul George, Melo used his go-to move. He jabbed at defenders, reading them. The defenders reacted one way, and Melo took complete advantage of them. Otherwise, Carmelo would bully them and get a post fade or get a bucket right at the basket. Melo's jab step allowed them to become one of the greatest 5-level scorers we've ever seen. The following season, Melo poured in 6 32-point games and the opening 8. It looked certain Carmelo would propel the Nuggets to greater heights, but a 15-game ban after a foul on the court changed the course of the Nuggets season. By the time Carmelo came back from suspension, the Nuggets had acquired the talented Allen Iverson. With this partnership with AI, Carmelo averaged 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists that year, which helped him to make the All-Star team for the first time. With a great point guard like AI, Melo slowed the game down. He didn't have to do as much. It was simple for him to get the ball, open the defender up with his jab step, and then go to work. Melo would use his jab step to create a combination of moves, with jab step spin moves, jab step pump fakes, to him bulldozing defenders for an easy 2, or just a jab step and raise right into his shot. Even with Melo's offensive avalanche, Melo saw no progress in the playoffs again. After a successful Olympics, Carmelo seemed to come back a different player after playing with the likes of Kobe and LeBron. Going for a more rounded team, the Nuggets traded Allen Iverson for guard Chauncey Billups, who was great on defense. This brought the best version of Carmelo. He came back hungrier, helping the Nuggets to an impressive season of 44 wins, being their best result in over 20 years. But now, their eyes turned to the playoffs. The Hornets would be their first obstacle, but the Hornets were no true obstacle for the flying Carmelo, as he guided his team to a 4-1 victory, this being his first series win in the playoffs, with a usage rating of 31.5, which was the third most behind LeBron and Kevin Durant. Melo was dominating the NBA and heavily dependent on his jab step, which was a pivotal move. That made his game less exhausting and efficient. Next up was the Mavericks, who had Dirk Nowitzki, who had won the MVP just 2 years ago. The occasion called for Carmelo to produce even more, and Carmelo answered accordingly as he averaged 30 points, winning the series 4-1. Next was their biggest opposition yet, Kobe Bryant's Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. After 4 games in the series, it looked like it could go anywhere, with the series being tied 2-2. The Nuggets were certainly up for the occasion, but soon the Nuggets lost their footing and the Lakers advanced to the championship finals. Despite their defeat, the air around Denver grew positive, and they believed they could go on a better run the following year and bring a championship home. Carmelo was their superstar, and every championship contender needed one. The following season, in the first round of the playoffs, Carmelo, their superstar, delivered as he averaged 30 points, but it wasn't enough to put him through. The Nuggets returned to their ways of early playoffs exits. Frustrated by their team's struggles, Carmelo began to pick a fight with the coach. He even went as far as refusing to be subbed off during the game, and it got a lot worse when Carmelo asked to be traded. Carmelo, who's supposed to be a franchise player, had set his eyes elsewhere, and it was met with resentment from the fans. The Nuggets offered a contract extension, thinking a hefty paycheck would sway him, but it did not. Carmelo wanted to leave, and he wanted the New York Knicks. Melo was eventually traded to the New York Knicks, the same place where he had to leave at the age of 9. Carmelo was finally in a big market in a big city. The world finally got to see his offensive game on a regular basis. Stoudemire and Carmelo on the Knicks roster caused a lot of issues, as both believed they were better off as an offensive focus. Whenever one of them wasn't in the lineup, the Knicks eventually played better. The first couple of years, Melo was getting adjusted. As the first year, he only played 23 games, and the following year, his numbers were worse than his last year in Denver. Not getting his way in New York, Carmelo soon picked a fight with D'Antoni, and obviously to keep their new superstar pleased, D'Antoni was fired. Mike Woodson became the New York Knicks head coach, and this saw the Knicks playing better basketball, the chemistry was better, and their defensive issues were patched. This is when the world found out how lethal Carmelo Anthony was. But the following year, we got to see Carmelo's bag on full display. In a game against the Chicago Bulls, Carmelo lit them up. He destroyed them in every fashion possible. He scored 42 points and carried a desperate Knicks team to earn a spot in the playoffs against the prime Derrick Rose and the offensive juggernaut Chicago Bulls. They will have to overcome LeBron's Miami Heat in the first round of the playoffs though. An injury to Amari's left hand ruined their hopes, and they were knocked out. Melo fine-tuned his game once more as Team USA won another gold medal in the summer. Coming in the 2013 NBA season, following the Olympics, this brought Melo to the pinnacle of his career. Jason Kidd's arrival helped the Knicks offense become more stable, and Carmelo flourished as a scorer, and he dribbled the ball less than he used to. Anthony replaced many long twos with threes and averaged 28.7 points per game, earning him an NBA scoring title. He played the most productive basketball of his career, and the Knicks won 54 games, their best record since 1997. Even without Amari, who suffered a knee injury, the Knicks defeated the aging Celtics in the first round of the playoffs under Melo's leadership. But in the second round, the Heat were just too good. The following year, Jason Kidd retired, and things began to look different for the New York Knicks. As Amari was always injured, the Knicks roster became bad with bad trades. However, during the bad years in New York, Carmelo set a career high of 62 points against the Charlotte Bobcats. It was absolutely too easy. One jab had defenders jumping in the air. By the time they landed, Melo tucked in the bed, and he was already at the basket, obliterating the rim. Melo's offensive game was at its peak. He had his second highest usage rating of his career. His game was simplified, yet effective. He could truly score from anywhere. This is the highest scoring performance in Knicks franchise history at Madison Square Garden. Carmelo was sadly then eventually traded by the New York Knicks in the following year. The Knicks felt that Melo's playstyle was damaging the team and killing the team's chemistry. Melo was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunders, playing alongside Russell Westbrook and Paul George. It was a fresh start for Melo and the start of a potential dynasty, but that didn't happen. Carmelo became worse as his average dropped drastically, going from 24 points per game with the Knicks to 16 points per game. His next stop was Houston, who believed that 34-year-old Carmelo could alter his habits without the ball and shoot only 3-pointers, which turned out to be a huge failure. After just 10 games, Melo was cut because he didn't fit into their offense and was a complete defensive nightmare at this point in his career. However, the worst and most offensive thing was that despite being a 10-time All-Star who scored over 25,000 points during his career, no one wanted to sign him for the remainder of the campaign. How can someone whose game was so simple and based on a single move no longer be wanted? The game had slipped away from Melo. It was no longer isolation basketball and bullying defenders. It was all about spacing and threes. Carmelo was still without a team when the following season began. The Portland Trail Blazers offered him a chance against all odds following a few roster injuries. Melo began to play brilliantly. After years away, he eventually swallowed his pride and accepted team mentality, turning into a reliable role player who makes 3-pointers without the ball and at least makes an effort to play defense. After 2 years in Portland, he joined his longtime friend LeBron James by signing with the Los Angeles Lakers. Melo had his best shooting percentages of his career when playing for the Lakers at the age of 37. Demonstrating to us that he was still a brilliant offensive player. Despite not winning a championship and with his poor playoff runs, Carmelo is an undeniable legend with his dangerous jab step that destroyed defenses. Being 10th on the all-time scoring list is a testament to the individual greatness of Carmelo, and perhaps with better teammates at the right time, he could have won a championship. Now, if you found this video entertaining, then you'll definitely like this video about the player who was super lazy and super nice, but became the greatest athlete the NBA had ever seen. Comment down below, is Carmelo the greatest scorer we've ever seen? I will also really appreciate you hitting the subscribe button and like button, as that helps me produce similar videos in the future. But that is it for today, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.